Hey there, fellow GI Joe aficionados. Welcome back. David Eon here with a bit of an impromptu discussion on Funskool. That is Funskool GI Joe ARAH era vintage carded action figures. And this jumps up out of a short that I did yesterday showing some really bad Funskool card art, which is something that Funskool is known for, is some of their bad card art, in sharp contrast to the traditional Hasbro card art, which is fantastic. They had some amazing card and box art during the ARAH era, really all the way through the entire history of the GI Joe going back to the 60s. They've primarily had really decent card art. Now, there are some things to be said for and against this. If you were interested in collecting the Funskool, or if you've considered it or you've never thought about it, honestly, I can recommend it, and I'll get into why here in a moment. Now, these were made in India by an Indian company, Funskool, obviously, licensed through Hasbro. The cards can be in either English or Russian, like this dial tone over here is printed in Russian on the back. If I turn this around and you look at the file card, if you're not from Eastern Europe, you probably have no idea what that says. I'm assuming that it's just a reproduction of the classic file card, but there's no way to know for sure, at least not for me. And another point is that very often Funskool would really dumb the file cards down. Example here with Cutter. If I turn Cutter around and you read the back of his file card, which is in English, there's like nothing there. It's very rudimentary. The syntax often isn't even very good. I'll turn around Ripper here. Ripper's is even more rudimentary. When you take a look at that, it says, Ripper is just like a devil, mean and evil. He was expelled from school for bullying other children and stealing their chocolates. When he grew up, he became a robber. I mean, it's very rudimentary. And it's, if you know Ripper's file card, I do believe that it says that he used to extort candy in elementary school. So they dumbed it down. They wrote it for like a 5-year-old kid here. And they got rid of his actual name. It just says Ripper. It used to have his real name and his point of origin, Tasmania, so on and so forth, if you're familiar with the card again. So they really dumbed the file cards down quite a bit on some of these. So that's one negative point. Another one is how incredibly thin these cards are. The card stock on these is very, very flimsy. It's at least half the thickness of a traditional carded ARAH figure. So these cards are often warped and damaged. They're like cereal box paper thin. They really truly are. And that's primarily your negative points, is flimsy cards and rudimentary descriptions. Another negative point, if you count it as one, is the card art. Again, if they had a figure that they were reproducing, like Ripper here, that already had established card art, they just copied it, which is what happened here. That's identical almost to Ripper's 1985 GI Joe ARAH era card. But then Cutter, who didn't come carded, he came with the whale, they had to make something up. And as you can see, they spared no expense on the artwork. I mean, it really literally looks like it's out of a coloring book. Like they just professionally colored in a page from a coloring book. There's your Cutter. And they did the same thing with Law here, looking very wonky. If you look at his face and his shape and it's like, wow, you didn't even hardly try. And then you come over to dial tone, and then you have more traditional art again, which basically they just copied over. So some people find the rudimentary art on figures that were never traditionally carded to be kind of charming. And I get that. I get it. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, but for some people, that's a big turnoff. Also, the language barrier can be a turnoff. Again, like dial tone here is printed all in Russian. Some people don't like that it's not in English, but that's neither here nor there. Pros to this are that they are indeed O-ring figures. These are the classic figures, and they are not in the same color schemes as the ones that were printed in the United States. The colors have been changed. So they are variants. They do look different. So if you had the 1985 Dreadnought Ripper, then his coloring is different. Even though the figure is identical, it's colored all different. And so you might want variations on Ripper. The other thing, which is a big deal actually, is the price point. These are very cheap by comparison to traditional ARAH era carded figures. Like I have some up here on this display. I know it's kind of hard to see at this angle. But traditional carded ARAH era Joes can be very expensive. Using Ripper as an example again here, a 1985 first series carded Ripper I've seen in really nice condition, really nice card, I've seen go for as much as $500-600. This one, if I were to sell this one today, I might get 50 for it. 50, maybe 60. So we're talking about a difference of 10 times the value. So maybe it's not in your budget to, let me just come up over here real quick so you can get a better look. Maybe the classic American carded ones are just way out of the potential of your budget. Perfectly understandable. They have gotten very expensive over the years. But their Funskool counterparts are still very affordable. So if you were down for a ARAH era GI Joe and don't feel like you could afford carded ARAH era GI Joe, you can if you went the direction of Funskool. You could totally afford these. So there you go. Just like I said, a quick impromptu discussion about Funskool. Is it worth it to collect these? I think so, especially considering the price and the fact that they are physically different. At least the paint is different on these figures. So they are variants. Again, the cards are pretty flimsy and often rudimentary where the file cards are concerned. But that's okay. And if you don't like the made up card art, if you think that's too silly, it's just not charming to you, again, you can find them with the classic Hasbro artwork. So any thoughts, any other points that you want to throw in there? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section down below. Please do give the video a thumbs up if you got anything out of that. I hope that you did. Share it if you can. Subscribe if you're new. All that good stuff. We hope to see you again. And if that's it, then what more can I say? But thanks for watching, and we will see you again soon.